The power has been out for 60 hours. Your bug-out bag, the one with the molle webbing and the coyote tan finish and the brand name that felt important at the store, is sitting by the door looking expensive. And you're rationing your last clean water because the filter you paid $90 for clogged on day 2. Somewhere right now, a Navy SEAL instructor is walking a Walmart aisle pointing at items that cost less than a fast food meal. He's not doing it ironically. He's doing it because these 11 things will outlast, outperform, and outfunction every piece of tactical nylon you've ever been sold. Here's what no one in the outdoor industry wants to say out loud. The product they're actually selling you is not water purification. It's not fire. It's not warmth. The product is confidence. And it comes wrapped in 500 denier nylon with a molle attachment system and a price tag that makes you feel like you've done something responsible. The problem is this: confidence and capability are not the same thing, and the gap between them is where people die. Walk into any major outdoor retailer and look at the wall of tactical flashlights. You'll find lights ranging from $40 to $300. The $300 version has aircraft-grade aluminum housing, a proprietary charging port, 7 lighting modes, and a beam that reaches 800 meters. It also requires a specialized lithium battery that you cannot buy at a gas station in rural Montana, a convenience store in rural Louisiana, or a market in rural anywhere. When that battery dies, the light dies. In a real, sustained emergency, the supply chain that feeds specialized batteries is exactly the kind of infrastructure that fails first. A SEAL instructor will tell you something that costs this industry billions every time it's said. The most important quality in survival gear is not performance at its peak. It's performance at its floor, when it's wet, cold, depleted, broken. Can you fix it with something from a hardware store in a town you've never heard of? That's called logistical resilience. You'll never see it on a hang tag because it cannot be marketed. It does not photograph well. It does not generate content. But it is the single variable that separates gear that survives a crisis from gear that becomes debris during one. The people most rigorously tested by actual life and death conditions stripped their kits down to items that could not fail, could be resupplied anywhere, and did more than one job. The result is a list that looks embarrassingly cheap. Here it is. Number 1, calcium hypochlorite. Pool shock. About $5 for a 1-pound bag. 1 pound at 68% concentration treats approximately 10,000 gallons of water. A standard prepper filter, marketed between $80 and $120. Processes 100 to 1,500 gallons before the membrane clogs or degrades. Pool shock has a shelf life measured in decades when stored sealed. A filter has a shelf life measured in gallons. The chemistry is direct. Dissolve 1 teaspoon of granular pool shock in half a gallon of water. That's your stock solution. Add 1 teaspoon of that stock to every gallon you need to treat. Wait 30 minutes. Done. This is identical to what municipal water treatment has used for a century. The outdoor industry sells you a filter because a filter is a product you replace. A bag of pool shock is a problem you solve permanently for $5. Number 2, petroleum jelly. Under $3. 3 completely separate mission-critical functions that almost no one connects. First, fire. Petroleum jelly is a hydrocarbon gel. It catches a spark and burns for several minutes per application, completely unaffected by moisture. 10 petroleum jelly-saturated cotton balls in a waterproof container is a fire kit that works in rain and wind and cold, where a lighter fails and matches are useless. Second, wound care. An occlusive dressing, used for chest wounds to prevent air entering the pleural cavity, requires a material that creates an airtight seal against skin. Petroleum jelly does this. It has been used in field medicine since the First World War. Third, thermal management. In cold environments, exposed skin loses heat through radiation and convection simultaneously. A thin layer on the face, hands, and ears creates a physical barrier that reduces convective loss. In a shelter situation where you're managing core temperature by the hour, that is not cosmetic. That is survival. 3 functions. 1 item. Under $3. Number 3. 550 paracord. Under $10 for 100 feet. The designation refers to its minimum breaking strength, 550 pounds. But the structure is the point. A standard hank contains an outer sheath and 7 inner strands, each rated at 35 pounds. In a survival context, those inner strands become fishing line, snare cordage, suture material for wound closure, tripwire for perimeter awareness. A 100-foot hank contains 700 feet of inner strand, plus the outer sheath, effectively 800 feet of usable cordage in a package weighing 8 ounces. No item in the preparedness market provides more functional surface area per dollar. The industry sells you the same paracord packaged as bracelets, keychains, watch bands, dog collars. Individual form factors at $15 to $30 each. Same material, a fraction of the quantity. Higher margin. That is the game, and it runs entirely on the assumption you never stop to do the math. Number 4. Cyanoacrylate. Superglue. Under $2. Field medics have used this to close human wounds in active combat since Vietnam. Not metaphorically, literally. When cyanoacrylate contacts moisture, including the moisture on living tissue, it polymerizes instantly, creating a flexible, airtight bond that holds wound edges together and creates a barrier against contamination. The surgical-grade version, sold as Dermabond, costs $30 to $75 per single-use applicator. The molecule is identical. The mechanism is identical. The gap between them is a business decision dressed up as a medical one. You cannot build a recurring revenue model around a $2 tube of superglue. So, Dermabond exists. And cyanoacrylate sits in the craft aisle. $2. Number 5. 6 mil black contractor bags. About $12 for a 10-pack. 1 bag, cut for your head. A rain poncho that blocks wind and slows convective heat loss. 1 bag, propped open on a slope. A passive rainwater collection system with no moving parts. 1 bag, placed beneath your sleeping surface. A ground barrier between you and soil, which conducts heat away from your body faster than air temperature will. 1 bag, split open and staked flat. A signal visible to aircraft against snow, sand, or an overcast sky at distances a whistle cannot reach. 4 functions, 70 cents each. Number 6. Duct tape. Not because it fixes everything, because of what it fixes specifically. A blister that isn't covered becomes an infected wound in 3 days of walking. A strip of duct tape over a hot spot lasts longer than any commercial blister bandage, adheres better in moisture, and costs a fraction of a cent per application. It seals a tent seam. It reinforces a boot sole separating from the upper. It creates a butterfly closure on a laceration when you have nothing else. Tensile strength is approximately 40 pounds per inch of width. Nothing in a first aid kit costs less per repair. Number 7. Bic lighters. Not 1, 10. A single Bic produces approximately 3,000 lights under normal conditions. In wet cold, that number drops. But 10 lighters distributed across your kit, your pockets, your vehicle, and your shelter create a redundancy architecture that no single premium fire tool can match. A ferrocerium rod requires dry tinder and practice technique. A lighter requires a thumb. Seal the flint wheel inside a small balloon during storage, and the lighter remains functional after full submersion. Wet conditions do not stop physics. They only stop inadequate preparation. 10 lighters, $10. 1 per pocket, 1 per layer, 1 per location. Number 8. Zip ties. About $5 for a 100-count assorted bag. Structural repair for broken frame components on a pack or shelter. improvised tourniquet components when used in multiples around a windlass, restraint device in a security scenario, cable and bundle management for any mechanical repair. Seals carry upward of 20 in every kit configuration, not because zip ties are extraordinary, because they weigh almost nothing, occupy almost no space, and solve a category of problem, things that must be held together under tension, that no other lightweight item addresses as efficiently. Number 9, a basic fishing kit. Under $3, under 1 ounce, 20-pound monofilament line, a dozen size 6 hooks, a few split-shot weights. That's the full kit. In a sustained emergency beyond 72 hours, calories become the primary logistics problem. MREs are heavy and finite. Foraging is skill-dependent, season-dependent, and often calorie-negative. Passive fishing, a line set and left while you do other tasks, produces protein from any body of water with fish in it, using energy you don't have to expend. Per ounce of kit weight, no survival food source approaches the caloric yield potential of a fishing line. Number 10, baby wipes. Unscented, 72 count, under $3. This is not a comfort item. Hygiene is a tactical asset in extended field conditions because infection is a force multiplier against you. Without running water, cleaning skin and wounds requires something that works without rinsing. Baby wipes do. They reduce bacterial load on skin surfaces, which reduces infection risk, which keeps you mobile and functional. In situations where clean water is rationed for drinking, every ounce spent on hygiene is an ounce not available for hydration. Baby wipes remove that trade-off entirely. Number 11, ibuprofen, 500 count bottle, under $10. This is a field pharmacy in a single container. Anti-inflammatory for soft tissue injuries that would otherwise end your mobility. Analgesic for pain management without the cognitive impairment that comes with alternatives. Antipyretic for fever reduction when a 104-degree temperature cannot wait for evacuation. 3 separate medical functions. 1 compound, 1 purchase. The preparedness market sells individual purpose-labeled products for each of these applications. The molecule doesn't care about the label. 11 items. Combined cost under $50. Combined functional coverage spanning water purification, fire, wound closure, warmth, shelter, signaling, cordage, caloric intake, hygiene, and field medicine. That is not a coincidence. Every item on this list shares one quality. It solves your problem permanently. None of them generates a service contract. None of them requires an upgrade path. None of them needs you to come back next season. They are, from a business standpoint, a disaster, because a person who owns them cannot be sold fear in a stuff sack. The SEALs didn't shop at Walmart because they have modest budgets. They shop there because the physics of survival doesn't check receipts. Water chemistry works at $5 the same way it works at $80. Cyanoacrylate bonds tissue at $2 the same way it bonds tissue at $60. The laws of thermodynamics have never cared about branding. Know what the gear actually does, know where to get it. That knowledge costs nothing the industry can charge you for, and it is the only thing they cannot sell back to you once you have it.